If you've been questioning yourself lately, this one is for you. So, I'll never forget something that my therapist once told me. And that is that she said, Caitlin, your mind is the most powerful person in your life, the biggest influence. And also, it's the most dramatic one. And at the time, I laughed. I genuinely thought, okay, well, that feels kind of like a stretch to say that it's the most dramatic person in my life. Because I got a few. I think that probably was a stretch. But now, fast forward a few years and building Diamond and achieving really just massive growth, navigating some personal curveballs I didn't see coming, and identity shifts, and more than really a few late nights staring up at the ceiling, thinking to myself, like, okay, well, what do I do now? Right? I really understand what she meant when she said that, because I look back and I think about every big decision, every difficult conversation, opportunity, or leap, right? That there's always a voice in your head. And sometimes that voice really cheers you on. Like, it is a great cheerleader. And then sometimes, man, that voice is the harshest critic. I mean, like, literally our worst enemy. And I've heard both of those voices speak very loudly to me at different times in my life. And, I've heard him say that, like, hey, you're moving too fast. I've heard the whispers, right? You're asking too much of yourself. You're asking too much of those around you, right? I've heard the voices tell me that I have no business trying to lead at the level that I'm trying to lead and build the company and life that I'm trying to build, while having, four kids and one with special needs, and trying to just hold it all together and juggle all those different, balls in the air at once. And here's what I learned after hearing all those different voices and experiencing all those different things. And not just as a CEO of a multi-million dollar company, but is a human, as a woman, as a wife, and is that I don't have to listen to every voice, right? That there are going to be a lot of voices that are very loud, very convincing, and completely wrong for that matter. And I get to decide what is true. And when I think of it in that way, that feels really good. That feels like control over my own life. That feels like ownership of, really what I want out of my life. So since I shared that and opened the door about, my therapist today, that I want to share a few other things that she taught me that I genuinely believe just massively changed my life, and how I live and how I lead, for that matter. And I really wish that I would have learned these much earlier in life. It would have saved me a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, a lot of stress and anxiety, because these things have really shaped really everything, how I show up every day, how I serve, you and my clients, and my team, and really how I treat myself when no one is watching. And that's a really important piece, because I realized a long time ago that if I don't take care of myself physically, emotionally, spiritually, all those things, I don't have as much to give to other people. So while I'm trying to run around 100 miles an hour doing things for other people and taking care of other people, if I don't first take care of myself first, I can't serve others at the highest level that is possible. So, I'm going to share with you what hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars that I've invested over the years in therapy and life coaches and lessons that I learned that has really changed my life and for the better. All right, so here we go. Number one. Number one is that your brain lies to you constantly. Like your brain is a liar. And I say that kind of jokingly, but your mind is always telling a story about something, what something means, what something was intended. What did she really mean when she said that to me? And today it says you as a leader, a parent, a partner, a professional, right? Like what stories is your mind telling you all the time? And those stories can feel very real in the moment, but they're often really built on a bias, a past trauma or an old wound, really things that are not factual. Um, and so the moment you can catch yourself saying, like, the story I'm telling myself, right, is that clue, that indicator that it is a story, in fact, and not factual information, that's how you can take your power back. And that pause gives you a choice to redefine what you thought that story was, what you thought that that really meant. Okay. The next thing is that what you avoid is really ultimately what controls you. And I don't know about you, but I don't like anyone controlling me about anything. And so things that I'm avoiding, when I put a definition on that those are controlling me, it really helped me to take action and put into like perspective of what was holding me back. So, in the moment, avoidance feels like relief, right? But that's very short term. It feels like peace and safety if you avoid hard conversations, if you delay making a decision because you didn't want to disappoint someone or be too overwhelmed. And I've told myself that, I'll just deal with it tomorrow when I had more energy, more time, right? And every time I do that, things just got heavier. They got harder. And I realized, what you avoid isn't just going to disappear because you avoided it. It actually gains and builds this power over you. So you can't wait to feel ready. Can't wait, right? We have to really step in and walk towards discomfort, just even if it's just one step at a time. That is how you take your power back, right? That's how you release control over something that you are trying to avoid. Number three, you are not who you think you are. You are who you practice being. Practice being. Okay. So think about that for a second. So, your identity is this constant feedback loop of habits, beliefs, and repeated behavior. So, you can't just become a strong leader, a calm communicator. You can't just become grounded by just wanting it, right? It's not that simple. You become that person by choosing differently in the moment where you are tested, especially when no one is watching. So think of it this way, right? Is that practice is identity in motion. So what you do repeatedly over time, not just thinking I want to be a good leader, I want to be a good friend, I want to be a good wife, I want to be a good mother, right? But it's those repeated habits and beliefs and actions that you take is what is going to actually turn you into that person. And that really helped me to be more intentional on how I become the person that I want to be. And that's where, planning your day, planning your life, planning your goals, right? And what actions I have to take to achieve that. that is going to help turn you into the person that you want to be. And when I broke it down like that, it really clicked for me. And so instead of just hoping and wanting to be a certain way, I was able to, again, take control and ownership of what I want and move the pieces towards that. Okay. And the final, not the only thing or final thing, but that I want to share with you today about what my therapist taught me is that we are we are wired for emotion, but we are built to regulate it. Now, just just feeling your emotions isn't enough, right? And it's good. In fact, I have been challenged that in the past of I may have difficulty feeling emotions, because I didn't want to be a person that was considered like an overreactor or a victim or highly emotional. And so I would try to push those feelings away. But what really helped me to be okay with feeling emotions is the next step in learning how to regulate those emotions. Okay. So, first, I had to learn like it's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be disappointed. But I didn't want to be a person that sat in those feelings. I wanted to feel them, experience them, but I didn't want to sit in them. And so regulation was a big aha moment for me. Because, we all know people that are really good at feeling their feelings, really good at that and sitting in that and being a victim of that. And that was not going to be me, right? But when I learned how to name what I was feeling and then hold back without judgment, right? But then apply and use that as information instead of it letting like it hijack my entire day, my entire week, my entire month, or year for that matter. And that, guys, is a skill to learn how to feel all the feels, but then to regulate it and do something with it. And that is what is really going to allow you to lead when there is times of pressure, right? That's going to allow you to show up when, it's, you got to be steady for yourself, for your team, for your family, for you to be able to go home without carrying everything and everyone's emotions with you. Something that I am really proud of about is that all the challenges and stresses at work, not taking those home and my kids even knowing about if it was a really tough day at work or the office, right? They don't need to know about it. They don't care about it, right? They care about, mom, let's go play basketball. They care about mom, what's for dinner, and me talking to them about how their day was, and not and being able to regulate my emotions, right? Feel them in the day, but then regulate them so it doesn't just totally steamroll the rest of my day or my time with my family. And that is a skill. That is a skill to be practiced and learned, because that will help you to be able to keep going when things get tough. All right, so all of these lessons, all of these aha moments for me that I learned from my therapist and life coach, I can't tell you how they have equipped me to really always remember my mind is constantly telling me stories, right? That discomfort will always show up. It's just part of life. It's part of living, right? It's a part of doing big things in life. And that emotions is going to be like a roller coaster. They will rise, they will fall, right? And none of that means that something is wrong or that I failed, right? But the real question is, and it's always this, it's like, how do we respond? Because we get to choose. And if you can't see it in yourself, it's very easy to see it in others. But the real work is to be able to see it and apply it for yourself. So when I think about, the woman that I was in my 20s and my 30s, and now in my mid 40s, right? That I used to be, because I'm constantly growing and evolving, right? Um, and how I used to listen to the stories that I told myself, that of how I allowed, fear to control me and the decisions that I made or didn't make, right? That I think of that girl, and I want to give her a hug. I want to, slap her on the back and say, like, girl, you are doing better than you think. There is so much ahead of you, so much that you have never dreamed of, that you couldn't even, thought of before. And you just need to take one day at a time. You just need to keep moving forward, and to use the tools, and insights that I shared with you today to regulate your emotions, to choose a different definition of the stories that our mind is telling us. And so I want to make sure that you hear that today. And if you are much younger than me, I hope that you can learn the lessons much faster than I did. And that you are open to not just like, hearing me, but really receiving that, taking that in and applying it, right? Because your mind might have a hand you this story, right? This morning, even, right? Last night, today, this morning, your mind is telling you a story, but you get to decide what's real, what's not, right? And ultimately, what is next? You get to decide. So I implore you, I encourage you, choose the story where you lead, where you take action, where you show up with courage, where you're not afraid to fail, and choose the story where you show up not just, is a victim, or this the loud critic in our head, but really the diamond girl that you are already becoming, but you don't even realize it yet. So thank you for joining me here. Share this with your team. Share this with another woman that can apply these tips and tricks